All right, so should I describe Diana first? Like what she's doing? Okay, so Diana is a Drell. She's dressed in primarily black clothing, and she's pretty well armed. She has an assortment of weapons on her, but right now she has, I guess, the closest thing to an MP3 player that Mass Effect has, with an earpiece in one ear, and she is holding a locket in her hand with a chain wrapped around it, and she's looking at a picture. And whenever she's glancing in between the picture and watching everything happen, and the first people that she walks over to is the two Quarians with the brother and sister. Is she well?
I think that she is going to be okay. Thank you for asking. I am Salovara Narzima. This is my little sister Nilu. Say hello, Nilu.
Your sister looks up and she says in a very shaky voice, uh, "Hi, hello."
She's going to kneel down to get a better look at the two, and she kind of looks between the both of them
From
and go ahead.
from what you can tell, the little girl seems to be maybe about uh,
12.
11, 12 years of age, roughly 11 or 12.
And what do you like to do, Nilu?
I'd like to break and fix things.
Is there anything else that brings you comfort?
She thinks for a moment and says, um, "My mother used to make us these desserts for when we were good, when we promised to be good. Um, I haven't had it for a very long time. It's very warm and sweet, but very comforting."
Then focus on those things during troubling times. It makes things easy.
"I will try," she says softly.
She's a very old drill lady. And then she's going to look to the older brother and ask, and what of you?
What about me? There's not really much to tell.
How did you manage to get in here?
Well, luck. You might call it good luck or bad luck, depending on how things all turn out. But we were uh, we were kind of in a sticky situation with some reapers and ended up in here. It's certainly better than dead.
"So many people," she says, "so many people died on our way here."
And Salo will kind of rub his sister on the shoulder a little bit and say, "It's all right. They're not suffering anymore, at least."
"You don't understand," she says. "I've never seen anyone die before."
I know, sister. I know. It's not easy. I can't lie to you and tell you that it will get easier, but it is something that you will learn how to deal with, and I will always be there to help you deal with it.
She nods, and you can hear that she's starting to sob a little bit as she again leans towards you.
Yeah, I'll kind of squeeze in a little, give her a little affectionate squeeze, and everything will be all right.
At this point, Diana is going to look at the small piece of technology that she has in her hand, and it's like at half battery life. And then she's going to take out the earpiece and hand it to the both of them, and say, Maybe this will be of some help, but don't lose it. I plan on coming back for it later.
So we'll nod. He'll accept and kind of look at it and what is this? And kind of look it over. This is really interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a gift from an old friend.
What what does it do? Kind of like look at the earpiece and look at that and
It will play the music of it's playing a bit of a softer type of but very upbeat type of music, and you can hear the sound of a young woman singing, though it's kind of hard to determine who she
And
is
I will
unless
always
you know
love you.
unless you're like a fan of Rain. That's who's playing on the earpiece.
Yeah.
Salo wouldn't. I don't know about Nilu, but Salo wouldn't recognize who it is. He'll give the earpiece to Nilu. Music helps. Listen to this. It's nice.
It's pretty, she says. Who is it?
She's going to clasp the locket in her hand, and for a second it looks like she would go into one of those Drell memory trances,
Okay.
except she can't, and it's
Hmm.
that's the she grits her teeth and says, "The daughter I wish I knew."
Does I don't know if Salo responds to that.
He'll kind of nod and he'll say, I I kind of know where you're coming from. I wish I knew my parents a little bit better.
When you say that, your sister's head like bows down a bit, and she, you know, tenses up a little bit.
It's all right. It's good to talk about these things. We can't keep them inside forever.
My problem comes from my own mistakes. It's not a child's duty to track down and want to. It's not a child's duty to try and be with their parents. It's the parents' duty to be with the child.
Salo will kind of he'll look down for a minute and kind of be silent for a second, just kind of thinking. And
It wasn't their fault. It was the Geth's fault.
yes, yes, it was. I'm sorry. These are not your problems. Your situation seems to be no better than ours, if not worse. My condolences and some understanding.
She's going to nod, and then she's going to rise and just leave the two in peace for now, and just kind of digest on the information that she got.
Salo, I think what had happened, what probably makes the most sense is that you guys are still very. I think you guys still blame the Geth for the death of your parents, and when you realized that the Quarians and the Geth were going to essentially absolve their differences and start to work together, that probably didn't sit very well with the two of you, and so you guys just kind of pieced out because you don't trust the Geth. I think you felt like this is probably something that's going to bite them in the butt later on, you know, and to protect your sister, you weren't willing to take that risk. You weren't willing to take the risk because, you know, all it takes is for your sister to be alone with one of the Geth, and then that's it. So you guys pieced out, and that's why you guys were not on Rannoch at this moment. Meanwhile, back to we'll go back to Faith and Damien. You guys are wandering down the hallway, and you pass by the med bay, and the moment you pass by is at the exact same moment that I had just ended my conversation between Niha and Quinn,
So
bantering
the
back and
last
forth.
thing you heard was, of course not. You're not gonna get any messages out. So just herb the cloaking and shielding.
Yeah, Damien, turns towards the door and he sees the woman, and you see her too. The woman that's on the bed, very badly wounded, and she seems to be hooked up to some sort of life support machine. And there's two Quarians sort of bantering back and forth.
Two people you don't know.
She'd see them talking, and she'd probably wouldn't. It's not her business.
Damien, on the other hand, pokes his head in, and he says, "What happened? Who are you?"
I got this.
Niha asks.
Quinn is coming off an emotional high. He's gonna take some time. So sorry.
Niha asks, "Who are you?" Damien says, "Hey, don't want any trouble. We're just kind of exploring the place, and we noticed you two fine folks hanging around with somebody on the bed."
And at this point, Faith is gonna follow him in because she doesn't want any trouble, and wants to make sure that he stays out of trouble.
He says, "My name is Damien, and this is my great grandma, Faith."
She's gonna hit him on the back of the head.
Ow!
I
Sorry.
am not your great grandmother.
This is my grand aunt, Faith.
Shakes her head and just whatever.
A very abusive aunt, might I say.
Quinn is going to tilt
Send
his
him a
head.
look at that.
Quinn is going to tilt his head and say, "I thought Asari only gave birth to Asari."
He's
Oh,
joking. I am not his.
Yeah.
I'm his friend.
We adopted her. We adopted her. He says very, very, very defiantly.
She'd probably just.
After this, Quinn is going to walk out of the room. He's going to walk in between. Normal people would try to steer around and walk out. He's going to walk in a straight line
Right
from
through
point
them?
A to point B, which is the door, which happens to be right through them.
Okay.
She's gonna move out of the way so she don't get knocked over.
Hey,
Before
what's wrong with him?
he's going to walk out the door, then quickly try to sneak. He can hide behind the door and listen in on the conversation.
All right, roll a stealth.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun.
Very nice.
Oh, you got a wild die.
Roll another d6. Roll another d6 to add to it.
Just one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless you roll another 6, then you get to roll again. Keep going. All right. So it's 21. No, 21 is still fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
So you manage to hide yourself behind the door, and you basically are able to listen in on everything that's going on.
He just walks out of the room. When he gets out of the line of sight of the doorway, he just suddenly stops and leans against the door, hands by his side. If he had pockets, they would be in his pockets, just
Okay.
leaning against the wall.
Yes. Don't mind him, she says. Niha says. It's best to just ignore him sometimes. So, is that your guys' friend? Damien asks. Yes. Her name is Aya. She helped some of the Quarians make their way down here into whatever this place is. Oh, gotcha. So will she be okay? At this point, Niha pauses and says, "She better." Gotcha. So, Faith, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, she's been standing there listening to this going on, and she just goes over and offers her hand to shake and says, "I'm Faith. I'm not his grand aunt or whatever he said. I'm just a friend of his that we met."
She also has Alzheimer's. She tends to forget some things every now and then. So
She kind
Right
of turns
now-
around at him, who says that. Did Damien just say that?
yeah, Damien said that.
She kind of turns around and sends him a look, saying, "You better not be doing this again."
Stasis.
And and when he like holds up his hands, and then as soon as Faith turns back towards the direction of Niha, Damien kind of does it looks like he's like wagging a stick, like an old woman like wagging a stick around, crotchety old woman.
She
I
kind of
think-
said he's doing something like that, so she kind of turns around and uses lift throw on him just to get him to stop.
Yes, basically, Faith is the win of the campaign. Damien just loves
Way to go,
joking
Angel.
about her age just because he can.
I'm proud of you.
So he's, at least he sees you as the win of the group.
And hearing all of this, so does Quinn.
And of course, like I said, Faith senses him doing that behind her back, so she lifts a hand up and uses her biotics to lift him up in the air.
Whoa! Do you? Oh! So you lift him up in the air?
Yeah, just to get him to stop doing that.
Oh,
She's
okay,
trying to get
okay,
him to-
okay. He says, "All right, I'm fine." You actually lift him up such that he's like actually upside down, and he says, "Okay, okay." He says, "The blood's rushing to my head. This isn't good. This isn't good. This isn't good for Drell. We need our blood right where we." Ah, okay. You drop him.
At this, she sets him down.
Oh, he set him
With a
down.
big smile on her face.
Yeah.
Should have just dropped him.
Niha actually says that you should have just dropped him.
He's my friend. I'm not gonna be that mean to him.
Your friend is very loud.
Quinn is satisfied. He's now going to walk away.
Okay.
Walk away back to where his original spot in the mess or lobby or wherever the original
Okay.
room was.
Niha says your friend is very loud.
Yeah, but if you hang around him as long as I have, you get used to it. Then again, I lived with a Krogan father, so things are gonna be loud.
So what are you doing here? She asks. Are you
Well-
friends of this Charles person who I keep hearing is in charge?
No, we ended up hearing about this safe house, and we came to see if we could join up. Sadly, wasn't able to get my family here on time. And she kind of gets a little sad face at that.
I see. I'm very sorry. We sort of have, as you can see, I'm no stranger to family issues.
Quinn should have stayed. He has
Sure.
made a terrible mistake.
Does
So,
Faith say anything?
Well, if you ever need anybody to talk to about family stuff, I could offer an ear if you want.
Are you a counselor?
No, but I'm a pretty good listener. I'm more in the military.
When you say I'm a pretty good listener, Damien says when she has her hearing aid turned up.
She kind of turns around and playfully nudges him again, saying, "Knock it off."
Ah, who said that? He says, I'm gonna go check, and he leaves the room. Who said that? He yells down the hallway. Does your friend think that he's actually funny? Niha asks.
Sometimes I think he does think he's funny.
Hmm.
To get used to it after a while, like I said.
At this point, Quinn, you are walking down the hallway and you pass by a Drell talking to a couple of Quarians, two other Quarians, one of whom seems to be sobbing. The Quarians, you figure, are probably related in some form or fashion.
He's going to glare daggers at the
Drell.
Drell and use his sneak again.
You're going to... Okay, so...
Try to spy on them.
So Shogun sent stare daggers at Diana.
No, I'm sneaking. I am
Oh, you're
giving...
sneaking.
He's right now suspecting the Drell of being the cause of the sobbing Quarian, and he's going to try to hide. And the puppy's back.
Yes, he is.
Hi, puppy.
Okay. So he's going to hide while intensely plotting terrible things to do to this Drell, but glaring all the while. He's going to try and sneak.
You'll hide and you'll start to realize that the Drell, it seems to be an elderly Drell, and she seems to be trying to comfort / give sage advice to these two Quarians.
Okay, then I'm going to stick by them and try to find out what their woes are.
Okay. You pretty much have gathered that the young girl Quarian is scared because they survived some sort of attack up on the surface. The brother is comforting her, and I'm not sure what the last thing that Diana said.
Okay. So, what Quinn will do, he's going to go somewhere else and start making one of his patented cloaking, tactical cloaks, enhanced, improved, and all the round best in the world with Quinn, with the Narnupalia seal of approval.
Okay.
Ding.
Fair enough. Nice.
So, do I successfully do that? Can we just assume? This would be a couple days.
I'll say so, yeah.
An hour, maybe.
Yeah.
A day.
You won't even have to roll. I'll say that you can do that.
Okay. So after that, he's going to forge a weapon. No weapon, just the tactical cloak. And he's going to sneak it into the little Quarian's room.
Okay.
Put it on her bed.
Oh, that's very sweet. So wait. So I'm sorry. What specifically are you putting in the Quarian's room?
A tactical cloak.
A tactical
best
cloak.
of its kind.
Oh wow. Okay.
I guess I would show my sister, because I had just kind of finished before the whole craziness happened and we got sucked into here. I had just finished the first complete prototype of the omni-tool that I'd been designing. And I'd show it to her and say, it's done, Nilu. I finished the omni-tool I've been working on. Do you know what I called it?
No.
I named it the Nilu Advanced Omni Device.
Wow. She says that's a very good name. I like that.
I agree. Kind of pat her on the head.
So what's the first thing you're going to do with it?
Well, help people, ideally. It's the fastest I've ever seen at turning Omni-Gel into useful things. It repairs like nobody's business.
Nilu perks up a little bit and she says, hopefully we can find someone we can help now.
Would you like that?
She says, yes, I think that people might need it.
I agree. No matter how long we're stuck down here, we have to do the best we can to get along and have a good community here.
You kind of go around and you do notice, Salo, that this place is unfinished. And with all of the craziness that's been going on, it looks like a lot of the engineers are trying to patch up things that were incomplete. And with the help of your omni-tool, you have offered to help them and have actually helped to complete many of their tasks. So much, though, so that Charles, who seems to be the big man around here who's calling the shots, has taken notice. He actually approaches you himself and he says, "You there." And he gives you like a little signal to approach him. That's Charles.
Right.
He's a little older than that, though. He's a little older than that. Probably more in his. Well,
Is that Nicolas Cage?
no. Charles is probably in his. Nah, maybe not that much older. I guess he would probably be in his late 20s, early 30s. Not that old. And he tells you to approach him. And
Yeah, Sala will approach cautiously. He's a little intimidated.
Yeah.
This fellow looks a rather
yeah,
unique.
yes. He has an interesting sense of style. Charles says, "What's your name?"
Salovara Narzima.
Charles, he says, and he holds up his hand to shake.
I'll reach out and shake it a little tentatively.
That omni-tool you have, he says. Never seen one like that before.
I don't doubt that you would. I made it myself.
Really? He says, I've seen Quarians make a lot of things. That one in particular has been particularly efficient around this space over the last several hours.
I do what I can to help.
He says, were you part of the ship of Quarians that had crash landed here?
Yes, me and my sister and a few others I might have seen around. I'm not sure. We were kind of swept up in everything.
Lucky us, he says. Lucky for both of us that you guys ended up here. Good work, Salo.
Thank you.
I'll see you around, he says. And then he gives you a pat on the shoulder and then he turns around and leaves.
Salo kind of I don't know if he understands, like if he knows that Charles is the one that runs the thing.
He probably doesn't.
He definitely gets an air of this guy has some weight to him, but
Some sway about him.
Yeah.
Salo will just kind of stand there for a minute,
got
like
some
a
French.
little confused and proud at the
One
same
of the
time.
human engineers says, "Good job, kid. You've only been here for what, less than a day, and the boss already has high accolades for you."
The boss. He's the boss?
Yeah, he says he's the guy that runs this place. This whole thing was his idea.
Well, he certainly is a unique individual, and this is a very unique idea for a way to ride things out. So he seems capable.
He's a survivor. That's what he does, one of the other engineers says. He knows how to do it.
I can relate.
Nilu goes over to you and she seems to be carrying something in her hands. You can see as she gets closer, it appears to be some sort of cloaking device.
What is that you have there, sister?
I found it in my room. I don't know where it came from.
May I see it?
She holds it up. Did you, Shogun? Did Quinn just put the device on her bed? Like no ribbon, no note, no nothing. You just put it there. Like, how did is it? How did he put it there?
He put it there so she wouldn't accidentally sit on it.
Okay.
But besides that, it's just a device.
Okay. So nothing else is with it. Was with it.
Maybe something to let her know what it was. But besides that, nothing
Nothing else. Okay.
Just, would somebody know a cloaking device if they saw it?
I think most Quarians would. At her age, she might recognize it right away. She's still kind of young. I mean, she's very smart for her age, but I don't know if she necessarily.
If we still use paper in this amazing future, there would be a little note that says
Yeah.
cloaking device.
Okay.
Space tape.
But besides
Space
that,
tape.
nothing.
All right. So is there anything specific about this device that Quentin needs to know about while he's examining it, or is it just
Yeah, I'd scan it. I'd run a
This
scan on
cloaking-
it with my omni-tool.
yeah? What would his omni-tool scan tell him? I guess.
It would tell him that while most cloaking devices primarily use a heat. Okay, you know how most cloaking devices work nowadays? Most cloaking devices work by using a air bubble that bends light from one side of the object around to the other. This one physically creates the area around it. Instead of bending the light, it creates a exact duplicate of the light and creates a holographic simulation
Gotcha.
around the body of the person.
Gotcha.
It uses slightly more power than the heated one.
Okay.
But basically that's it. It uses a tiny bit of more power, but it should still run almost as long as a normal cloaking device, though you might need to adjust some the power cells or whatever energy source. You might need to adjust some energy things in this
Mhm.
in whatever you use, the omni-tool,
Okay.
whatever.
So yeah, Salo will
But
kind of
other
look it
than that,
over.
It is quite literally the perfect cloaking device, because before they could see through it,
Mhm.
the heat signature of the the bending of the
Right.
light. But now with this version, there is no heat signature.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Quentin.
Now, Salo will kind of look it over and look at the omni-tool data and, well, this is quite the little interesting thing you have, sister. You said you just found it in the room?
She nods. It looks very well done. I don't know who it's from though.
Do you know what this is? Pop quiz.
She studies it and she says it's not a shield generator. This part here, maybe a cloaking device?
Got it. Yes.
But I'm not sure though, because it doesn't seem to be anything like any of the other cloaking devices that I've taken apart before.
That's because it is not. This seems to operate differently. It's definitely a custom design. I have not seen anything like this on the market. You have something special here, sister. Try and resist the urge to take it apart.
I, she says, but I want to know how it works.
Well, just be careful, okay? Somebody seemed to put a lot of hard work into this, and if they misplaced it or something happens, I don't want to be quite on so shaky ground with the people here. We're doing good so far.
Got it, she says, and she takes the device back.
And don't
Okay.
go spying on people just because you can turn invisible.
She doesn't respond as she leaves. She doesn't say anything. What I was thinking was, some stranger left something for my kid sister? Sure, I'm sure it's safe. Go off and, run with it and use it as much as you'd like. Meanwhile, she starts, tampering with it, and all of a sudden, this is a self-destruct system. This is
You have found-
you have found the Doomsday device mode. Doomsday
I
device
made
mode.
sure it was safe. I ran it through
That's
my
true. You ran it through the
omni-tool.
omni-tool.
It said it green light all the way, so
Yes. All right. Let's jump ahead a little bit. So, you guys have been in the vault for a number of months now. And at this point, everybody has been informed that you will remain in the vault for an indefinite period of time because Shepard and his crew failed to stop the Reaper threat. And the Reapers are now making their way, exterminating life, synthetic life around the galaxy. And all you guys have left to do is to wait and hold out for as long as you can. Faith, you are in the dining area, the mess area, and its house just so happens that sitting across from you is a elderly Drell, Diana. You probably have met Diana, but I don't think you've had like an actual full length conversation with her yet. So you're having lunch, and we'll say that you're meeting up with Damien, and maybe Damien is sitting across from Diana at the moment. So when you sit down next to him, Damien will say, "Oh yes, Faith, you know Diana, right?"
I've met her. I haven't really talked much with her, though.
Does Diana say anything at this point?
She's gonna have the lock it out again. She's been staring into it fairly often. That's where you see her most of the time. She's gonna look up and be like, "Ah, yes, I believe I've talked to you before."
Damien says, "So what do you guys all think about the big news?"
It's quite disheartening, actually. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to stay here too long. And she's probably still thinking about her family, which
Yeah.
she doesn't know what's happened to them.
I'm the opposite. Considering my luck, it doesn't come as much as a surprise.
Damien starts playing with his food a little bit in front of him. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that we wouldn't be here for the long haul, too. It's been getting kind of stuffy in here the last few months.
She kind of pokes at her food, not really hungry at the moment.
Well, of course, you
Diana's
just found out the
like,
world's dead.
she's not a fast eater, but she seems very unperturbed.
If you want to know what Quinn is doing, he is now on regular patrols
Okay.
down the hallways, cloaked, looking for any lost stat, anyone experiencing any troubles,
Yeah.
doing his best to.
Spirits are kind of definitely low right now. In fact, Nilu right now is on her bed, and you come into the room. Salo, and she is on her bed, and she seems to be crying.
I'll approach her and kind of sit down on the edge of the bed near her, and I know things are not so well right now. The news isn't the best,
Shep,
but
go ahead.
we are still safe here, and I think that we have some friends.
Shepard was supposed to save us, she said. But Shepard did everything wrong. First, he didn't kill the Geth. Then and then she starts sniffling and she starts breaking down.
He'll wrap his arms around her and kind of hold her close and say, "There, it's going to be okay. He did some great things, but he was only just one person."
But it wasn't enough, she said.
He did the best he could, and that's all we could have ever asked of him. He fought when no one else would fought, and I have to admit I hate him for the decision he made on Rannoch. But at least he did something.
She nods. How long do we have to wait?
Well, I'm not sure how much Salo would know about how the Reapers operate.
Yeah,
Probably
nothing.
Nothing.
No,
So
you don't know. So
zip. I'm not sure. I don't know what the protocol here is in this situation. It's something that no one alive today has ever dealt with. But
Quinn, go ahead.
we are surrounded by some good people, and I think that if we have to stay in here for the rest of our lives, it may get boring, but it will be safe. And I think that we could find some happiness.
Quinn, you're actually hearing all this. Like, you might be nearby and you might have started eavesdropping on this conversation. Salo, while you're talking, Nilu actually goes to a drawer nearby and she opens it and she pulls out the same device that Quinn had made. That Quinn built. She sort of holds it in front of her and she says, "Sometimes," she says, "I wish that we could all disappear for real."
Oh, sister, it may seem bad, but don't despair like that. It's going to be okay. The world would not be the same place if you were to disappear.
She bows her head a little bit and then she's, just kind of fidgets around with some of the buttons and other, I guess other things that's on the device. It hums on, then it turns off, then it hums on. She's just kind of mindlessly playing around with it. I don't know if Quinn does anything at some point. I don't think Quinn has ever revealed to the siblings that it was from him.
He would not.
So
he would not do that. Oh, that hit Quinn hard. That's going to set a fire in him. He's going to, you know those little dog toys that it takes a few steps, you wind it up, takes a few steps forward, then does a flip.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, that's now on her pillow, the little sister's pillow. And along with a tiny dagger, it'll be a handle, but a blade that will go out like a maple leaf, go out, then come to a point. And on the blade, it's a regular, it's almost It's almost like a letter opener,
Okay.
but it could do some damage,
Okay.
but mostly it says, "The brave stand tall, the brave march on, the brave may fall, but their actions will live on."
Okay, I like that. Very nice. All right. So suddenly that just appeared on her bed while the brother and sister are having this conversation.
No,
Oh,
later on
later
he'll
on.
go off
Okay.
and make them.
Okay.
Then later on he'll sneak in, leave the dog on the sister's pillow, and the knife with
Okay. Good to know.
the motto on the big brother's pillow.
Okay.
And Quinn will resume his patrols looking for anyone
Okay.
to help, anyone to not think about what Leto is going through right now.
Okay. Salo and Nilu, eventually you decide that maybe getting some food into your sister's belly might do her some good. So you take her into the cafeteria or the mess area, and that is again where Faith and Diana are having their conversation. And if you want to be involved in this conversation too, Quinn, you can be at that point be in the mess area ish as well when the Quarian brother and sister arrive and you have your food, and let's say that you decide there's spaces open next to Damien and Faith and Diana. If you guys want to sit next to them.
Are they all happy looking?
No, they seem to be a little distraught with the news, with the recent news of, the Reapers of Shepherd failing. So.
Well, everyone is
Diana's a
like
little
that, yeah, but
neutral.
are they obviously
Diana's neutral.
on the verge of something
Yeah.
bad?
Probably not. No more than normal.
Then
No,
he is going.
probably not.
Then he is going to get his food and go back to the lonely, isolated corner he eats his lunch in, his food at every day. Quinn is very, again, Quinn he found, the first thing he did, he found a corner where no one would disturb him, preferably somewhere quiet, maybe even a little dark, cooler temperature, and he would eat his lunch there where he
Okay.
would not disturb anyone and nobody would disturb him.
Okay.
And then as soon as the food's done, he goes out on his patrols.
Okay. So.
Now I'm going to get some water.
Okay. So back in the mess area, is anyone going to interact? Is anyone saying anything? Otherwise, I will move on.
Diana will say something to the siblings, and then she also wants to go and find Neela, I think her name is.
Niha?
Neha,
Sure.
yes, she wants to go find her.
Go ahead and talk to the siblings.
That's she'll notice that those two came in, and she'll go up to them and she'll take a deep breath and say, I wanted to speak with you a moment.
Of course. What is it you wanted to talk about?
It's more of an apology, really. Whenever we were first all locked down here, I realized I may have spoken out of ignorance, and I wanted to apologize if I brought up anything painful.
It's quite all right. Sometimes it's good to air these things out. They can weigh heavy if left to sit in the heart for too long. We're all in this together. I don't think we quite knew how long that would be back then, but I think it's best if we can all confide and trust in each other, even in times like this where things are so unsure.
I see. Well, it's good to know I didn't cause too much harm then, I suppose.
No, it's quite all right. My sister is tender, and try to protect her the best I can, but being exposed to doses of these kind of things in small amounts is good. It can harden the soul just the right amount.
I believe that when the time comes, she will perform above expectations.
I believe the very same thing.
And with that, I think she's going to go look for Neela
Niha,
or Neha. Yeah,
Neha.
Neha.
you will
As she's leaving, I'll say, take care, and
find Niha spells again in the Bay Area, which is where she probably spends a good amount of her time every day, at least twice a day. I think she spends it in the Bay Area. She seems to be next to she seems to be reading a book or whatever the equivalent of a book is, I guess, in Mass Effect. Just sitting next to Aya's body.
She's going to look between her and the person on the bed, and then she's going to clear her throat and say, "Am I? Well, I suppose I am intruding, aren't I?"
Niha looks up and as after she sees you, she says, "Ah, Diana, it's all right. Come on in. What exactly can I do for you?"
I'm assuming she's at this point she knows who's on the bed.
Yeah.
Okay. Any improvements?
The doctor says that her vital signs have been stable for quite some time, but it has not changed for at least the past month or so.
I see. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, well, one thing about Aya, she will do things when she's good and ready. And I guess she's just not ready at this moment.
I suppose I will get straight to my point then. I seem to recall, and she kind of smiled at their own words that she seems to recall. I seem to recall once we entered the vault, you had a bit of an altercation with a table.
A table, she says. I don't know what you're referring to.
The one that you overturned.
Ah, yes. Yes. Sorry about that. I was very distraught.
On the contrary, I wanted to say that you reminded me a bit of myself whenever I was at a more able age.
Is that so?
Yes, I remember quite clearly that I repeated many mistakes simply because they were fun.
Ah, I see. I find that very surprising, considering how much of a, well, no offense, homebody you seem to be now.
Well, you have to learn to roll with the punches sometimes, either that or you die young.
Dying young is not necessarily a bad thing.
No. But I had things to live for, so I had to get better, wiser. But that fire also helps from time to time. I just wanted to say that that fire can be proved very useful, but it also can be a danger. I would be careful. You are very important to those around you, and I think you will be very instrumental in some ways.
I don't know about that, she says. Ever since Aya and I came here, I never really felt like we really fit in.
Oh, come on. Fitting in is a drag.
I mean,
Look at me.
well, she says, even that useless boy Darren seems to be assimilated in here, but that's mostly because he's best friends with the boss. Nia says, do you know what Darren did the other day?
Oh, what was it this time?
2 words, spitballs. I didn't even know what spitballs were until, well, must be a weird human thing.
Yep.
Did he make a smiley face?
Let me guess, did he use a straw or some rusty pipe he found on the floor?
That is disgusting, she says. I have no idea now that you mention it. Ugh, that boshed it.
I wouldn't put it past him. But you do have to admit he has a way of focusing all of your